Hello, and welcome back to the Long Distance Love Bombs podcast. You may have noticed that there have not been very many new episodes lately. That is partially, or perhaps wholly, due to the fact that I have a new daughter in my life, and time is a bit limited, and space and brain capacity is a bit limited. But we're back, and we're back with my friend Amy Young, or as she appears in my telephone, Amy fucking Young. And I've known Amy for years now. She was on the podcast, I don't even know, 2020 maybe. And back then, she was a very different woman doing very different work. She was primarily focused on dating and relationships. She was very funny. Well, she still is very funny, but her content was much more lighthearted and comedic in a sense. Whereas this version of Amy Young has been through some stuff, and we talk all about that. She has seen a transition or two or 10. She talks about being psychic for a minute at the gym and what that meant for her. She gets a little bit emotional at one point. We talk about how to navigate transitions. We riff about life. We laugh a lot. We're silly. We're very informal, very playful. This conversation is going to be akin to you being a fly on the wall of two old pals just chopping it up, talking some shit, going deep, sharing some insights, bouncing some epiphanies back and forth with one another. And at the end of it, you will have some insights, some good thoughts about what transitions are, how to navigate those in your own life, and how to observe them in others and perhaps support them through those. So, Amy Young is on Instagram. She has a website that is under construction, as you will hear at the end of the conversation. I'll include links to those in the show notes. As always, thank you for being here. Thanks for being my pal who listens to me talk to people that I want to talk to. If you don't have any idea who the heck I am, my name's Jeremy. You can find me online at Long Distance Love Bombs on Instagram. I do retreats. I do one-on-one coaching. I'm a poet. I do keynote talks all over the place for companies and businesses looking to create more compassionate, kind-hearted cultures, bring people together, remember that we're human beings doing our best. Without further ado, please enjoy this conversation with Amy Young. You look great, by the way. I was going to say that, as just a lead off to the podcast.
Well, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, we were just shooting the shit for like 2 minutes and then just decided to shoot the shit and record it.
Yeah,
But
hit record. Why wait?
why wait? Amy Young, I haven't talked to you in years,
Hmm.
other than the occasional text message and the occasional meme sent back and forth. And I was speaking with my partner Kendra this morning, and she said, "Oh, you're interviewing Amy Young today. What are you going to talk about?" And I said, "I don't know." And then she said, "Well, what's she been up to?" And I said, "I don't know. I think she's been going through a lot of transitions though." And
That's such a
well,
gentle way to put it, Jeremy. That's like the gentlest possible description of since the last time we spoke. But yes, continue.
I was like, we'll probably just figure it out as we go. And I felt like she would probably arrange a podcast conversation differently. But having just spoken to you, it seems like I've got buy-in for the informal, conversational, meandering, rabbit hole chasing, whatever this is.
I mean, that's how I generally like to do things. I like the old meander route, and I usually and that goes
Oh, meander.
and I like listening to podcasts. I like listening to real conversations. I don't like listening to anything that sounds too like formulaic or structured or like, oh, we're really trying to push this topic or like that doesn't excite me at all. So generally, when people have me on podcasts, I'm like, whether you like it or not, like I kind of want to just go with the flow.
Yeah. I've had
Yeah.
hosts send me an email asking for like 20 questions that I want to be asked. It's like, that's so
No,
boring. I don't want
no,
to do that.
no. Also, that's like a question for Chat GPT. Like, don't come to me with that shit. Like, I'm not doing your job.
Can I ask you a very quick random logistical aside? But I feel like I'm hearing a very high pitched ping. Is it maybe your earring or is it
There was a truck backing up on the street just now. Do you still hear it?
no?
Okay. There was a high pitched like beep beep truck backing up
Oh, maybe
just
that
now,
was it.
but I think it's
Anyway,
backed up.
well, God, we're off to a flying start, aren't we? This is a high quality entertainment for those listening right
You're welcome,
now.
everyone.
It gets way better, trust us.
Us in the future, we
Yeah.
really have something so special for you.
Okay, but for real, Amy Young, for those listening that don't know you, and I'm also curious to the answer to this very simple philosophical question, which is simply, who are you? Like, what's your deal? Who are you now?
Who am I now? Well, can I tell a story actually? Uh,
Like, no, imagine
because
it after all that. I'm like, no, no, no stories, Amy.
no
Stick to the
stories.
script.
No, but I love that question because it reminds me of um this one time I was at a retreat. I was at a retreat with Michaela Boehm, who was my I mean, she's I don't know what she's so many different things. She's like a celebrity therapist. She's like a true like she's like a tantric guru. She's my embodiment teacher. So this was before actually I was even doing my nonlinear movement training with her, but I was at a retreat out in Ojai with her, and it was like day one, moment one. We're all like sitting in a circle, and she's like, let's all just take a couple minutes here. We're going to go around the circle and introduce ourselves. And I I'm gonna be totally honest. I sometimes I have a hard time in environments like retreats or even like like team building stuff where they're like let's ice break and get to know each other. Like I just get it does anyone not have a cringy response to those experiences, or is this a me thing or is this a we thing?
Uh, I mean, I'm not going to negate your experience in the first 4 minutes, Amy Young,
I don't,
but
please give me something
I,
else if you have
I
something
mean,
else.
I personally have just like a prepared poetic thing that I use as a bio or like an
Hmm.
introduction that's just like, here's my elevator pitch, like da 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 da
Yeah.
from a professional lens. But I have, I've led a bunch of events and retreats and I've supported others who have done so. And it's very interesting just to hear in the introduction how people choose to highlight and define themselves, and also what they choose to omit or hide from others. Like I've seen very powerful, strong, world-class professionals say, "Yeah, da, 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 da." And it's like, you're an Ironman champion. Like, say that, and vice versa, right? So, when you were in that circle, how did you
No, well,
navigate that?
this isn't the story that I don't want to talk about how I introduced myself. I want to talk about how
Oh,
this
okay,
other woman introduced herself because
okay,
this was so illuminating to me. Where,
okay.
like, because in my head, I'm like, oh, we have to introduce ourselves. So I would have been like, hi, I'm Amy. Like, I live in the Boston area. I do online coaching and I'm here, because I read Michaela's book. And, like, I think that's probably how I introduced myself. But the first woman to introduce herself in the circle, like took a moment and was like, who am I? Who am I? I am the one who hears the birds cry in the early morning before the sun has even risen. I am the one who watches the river flow and wonders where it's going. I am the one. And she's sort of going on this like poetic exhibition. And I'm in the circle being like, is this how we're supposed to be introducing ourselves? Because like I'm not on that level, whatever that is. But the joke ended up being on me because as much as I was like eye rolling at that woman, she and I had a very profound conversation later that like showed me that I'm like, oh, Amy, you judgy. you a judgy woman, like you need to check yourself a little bit. Because my tolerance for just like that, who am I am the one kind of energies, it just gives me the ick. I just have a hard time with it. And I'm sure there's a wealth of stuff that we could look at within me about why that bothers me and shadow work, blah, 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 blah. But sometimes it is fun to just judge, and then be proven wrong later when that person is like the coolest person that you have a life changing conversation with. Um, but yeah, I'm so bad. Clearly, I'm so bad at introductions because you're asking me to introduce myself. And I'm like, I'm going to tell a story about someone else introducing themselves. But this story probably does give you a better like taste of my flavor than me just being like, here's my elevator pitch. But for anyone who doesn't know me from Eve, my name is Amy Young. I am a
From the Boston
coach.
area.
I'm from the Boston area.
Sometimes it's fun to judge.
Yeah. And I work with women these days. I work with women who are moving through big awakenings, big initiation, like freaky deaky stuff is happening in your world and you don't understand it or you don't know what's going on, but it's kind of like the bottom is falling out. And you need guidance and assistance as you're navigating that. So, which is why I kind of joke when Jeremy said earlier about like, I think Amy's been going through some big transitions. I'm like, yeah, you could say that. That's one way of putting it. Um, my life curriculum has really set me up to be doing this kind of work with people. But my former life, like my old coaching life, I had this big YouTube platform. I did a lot of work in the realm of dating and relationships. A lot of people initially found me or my work through all of that, and then it's been really cool to see how much of my online community and people have kind of grown and evolved as I've grown and evolved and as my work has evolved as well.
Yeah. So is it a case of like you just walked through the fire metaphorically and now you know the path and you help other women walk through their fires? Like when you said something about, my life curriculum has set me up to do this work. That's
Yeah.
sort of how I took that is you've
Yeah.
gone through some shit and now you help other people go through some shit.
Yes. And
Yeah.
it's and like, I mean, for really, it was like like 5 years of just like tumultuous spin cycle, can't find solid ground, like rug getting pulled out from under me. Told like my life and my sense of self was really drastically reorganized against my own will. And and through those experiences, yeah, I mean, obviously, like I learned some stuff, but the way that I live and how I understand life now is so different than how it was before those experiences. So, yes, like walking through the fire. I
The
often,
other example was I pictured you as sort of a lighthouse for those sort of lost at sea in a storm in some
mhm,
regard, like helping them
yeah.
find their way home to themselves or whatever.
Yeah, I used to love the metaphor of a lighthouse. And then I was talking to someone and they were like, yeah, but the lighthouse says stay away. And I was like, damn it, because I love that metaphor. But I'm like, that's true. The lighthouse is kind of being like, careful, you could crash over here. But in a sense, yes.
But what if you were like a lighthouse on a boat that moved around
Whoa.
at sea
Whoa. Whoa. Now we're talking mobile
or
lighthouse.
a drone? Yeah, Amy Young, I'm a mobile lighthouse for
Yeah.
hire.
Yeah.
Would you be open to providing an example or two of an experience that has shaped you in that
Yeah.
regard? The other
What?
question I was going to just gently toss your way is, what has shifted in the way that you view life or yourself now versus 5 years ago? So wherever you want to take this, though.
Yeah. I mean, the there's so many there's so many like entry points and possibilities. I
Well,
mean,
let me I'll just nudge you again because from my perspective, I know that you moved and that you had some relationship stuff, and I know that you had some family stuff, and I
Mhm.
know you kind of burnt your business to the ground, for lack
Mhm.
of a better phrase, and
Mhm.
pivoted very intentionally and perhaps somewhat resistantly, I'm projecting,
Mhm.
into this new area.
Yeah.
And so that's essentially every solid foundation that one has in a world, I think.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you've
and I
gone
had a bunch
through.
of health stuff. Like I had a
Oh,
bunch of health
okay.
stuff, body stuff. Um it was it was really like, I mean, the initial onset was in 2019 when I started experiencing this really intense chronic pain in my body that materialized very suddenly. Like we're talking like I wake up one day and my body is like in an excruciating amount of pain. And up until that point in my life, just at least in terms of my physical well-being, I was doing pretty darn well. Like I wasn't someone that, I didn't have like a lot of injuries or a lot of issues, and I definitely hadn't dealt with pain at that level before. And at that time, um, you know, when you have something like that happen, I did, I think, what most of us think to do, which is like, okay, I'm going to go see whatever doctor I can see or whatever ER I can walk into or whoever might be able to help me. Um, and I really came up empty. Like it was like really like all of these dead ends and dead ends and dead ends. And then what most people do, and this is what I did, is you start to go, okay, desperate, scared, overwhelmed, and in pain, alternative methodologies, like let me just throw paint at the wall at like, whoever I could possibly find or who could assist me in resolving this and figuring it out. And I did that for about like 2 years, like really exhausting this search of like who can help me resolve this pain. And that was really the beginning of like the rupture of this whole kind of model that I had of life, which is like, if you're, this is going to sound really dark and it's not, but like, I think, but I'm just going to tell the truth. It's like, if you're struggling or if you're suffering, there are people who are in charge, who like know more than you, who like have answers, who can help you figure things out. And anyone who's dealt with mysterious health issues or had like a crisis of sorts with something in their body that was like unconventional, when you exhaust the medical system or when you exhaust even like these other healing modalities, it's this really freaky thing because this whole idea of like someone can help me, someone can fix this, someone outside me is going to be able to do this for me, that was totally upended. Like any sense that I had of, someone else is going to have the answer, like I exhausted that to the point where I was just like, okay, we've spent enough time, energy, money, like looking outside and trying to find answers and trying to figure out what's going on and trying to resolve this. And it's been dead end, dead end, dead end. Fuck, like what options are left on the table? And me being the type of person that I am, thankfully, I decided pretty early on in that whole process that I was like, I'm going to assume that this is happening for me. And I'm going to assume that this is for some higher good. And I'm going to trust that no matter what happens or what I encounter, that it is for my benefit, that it's helping me in some way, even if I can't see what that is. And having that attitude and outlook while simultaneously, like being failed or hitting these dead ends or feeling like there's no way out was this really fascinating experience, because by all kind of standards or accounts, if I was just looking at like, wow, no one has any answers, this isn't getting better, and it's been years, um it would have been really easy for me to just look at that and be like, okay, I guess I just have to resign myself to this, or I guess I'm just going to be in pain forever, or I guess this, this isn't going to get, and but because I really pretty early on like surrendered to whatever the fuck was happening and chose to trust it, it created this very different lens through which I was able to view everything and experience everything. And not that it was any type of like dreamy like like lazy river, like let's just relax and enjoy this. Not by a long shot, but I was consistently able to anchor myself back to this place of deeper trust and willingness to be like, okay, I'm here for this full ride, whatever this takes or whatever this asks of me, or wherever I have to go or whatever I have to do, like I'm going to see this through. And that, and I mean, and like, spoiler alert, the pain is like, I would say like 95% resolved. Like I still will have sometimes these like little minimal flare ups, but I know what it's about now, and I know what it's indicating to me, and I know how to like handle it. But it was like, yeah, I mean, there was this really long process. There's other things, yeah, that like, shifted, erupted, changed, but like that initial sort of rug being pulled out from under me, where it was like, oh, you're now going to be in a different body, and every day you're going to be feeling this level of pain, and nobody knows that this is what you're going through. And it's like, it was this really weird, disorienting, like I said, like reorganizing experience.
Yeah. Damn. Um, I'm reminded of a conversation I had years ago with Leanne Rhymes, and she talked about this skin issue that she had during her whole upbringing. And the point that she made was, everybody always says, trust yourself, trust your body. But if your body is screaming at you in pain, then
Mm-hmm.
how do you trust yourself and trust your body? And so it sounds like you were really anchored in, despite the pain, despite the circumstances, into a greater faith or surrender or choice. And that is, in my experience, really difficult to
Mm-hmm.
stay anchored in that space.
Yeah. Well, I want, you're not done. I know you're not done, but I just want to say, I
No,
don't think,
if you want to talk, I'm done.
no, I don't want to
Like,
interrupt you, but
that's my role here.
I think this is one of the really important things, is like to understand, like, we don't stay there, but you come back there. You know what I mean? And I think that that's true for any belief system you're wanting to cultivate, or any value that you uphold. Is like, the nature of being human is you're going to deviate, and you're going to forget, and you're going to get sideswiped, or you're going to lose that. But can you come back to it? Like, do you know how to come back? And I think that was the thing for me that was ended up being one of the gifts of this experience. Was I was like, I had to keep coming back to that. And once you know how to come back, and this is true for anything, you could say this about, if you're someone who chronically self abandons, it's like, do you know how to come back to yourself? If you are on a journey of like sobriety, and or like recovery, and it's like, okay, I relapsed, do you know how to come back into sobriety? Like, that's what we're all here really practicing, I believe.
Yeah, I really like that of getting back on path. So then, were there any kind of mobile lighthouses that helped you navigate that?
Oh, fuck tons.
Like what are examples that you leaned on, or that, did you ask for help? Did you have a group? Did you
Yeah.
have a mantra? Did you light some sage? Like
Yeah.
what are your practices to get back on track?
um Yeah, well, one, I mean, it's not, to be fair, it's not entirely fair for me to say like, oh, nobody could help me, or nobody. When I say like, oh, no one could help me, or I exhaust all these efforts, what I really meant was like, I wanted to be able to walk into an appointment and have some practitioner be like, this is the exactly what's going on, and this is the supplement you take to fix it, or just like, or stop, eating red meat or something. Like, I just wanted it to be this like binary, black and white, easy
Because we're so
peasy.
used to that now, right? Like
I
you
know.
ask Google something and it tells you the answer. You ask your map app how to get there
Yeah.
and it tells you the answer. And then to
Yeah.
be met with an experience or some expertise, which is, hey, this is really complex and complicated, and we're not
Yeah.
quite sure, but it could be any number of things. So try this and try that. It's like, no, no, just give me my 10 milligrams of folate and send me on my way. I'm done with this chronic pain.
Seriously. I know. Yeah, we struggle definitely with like the complexity, or the mysterious, or the multi-layered. Like, there's just which is so funny. I appreciate you saying that, because like, that's probably my favorite thing about my work with people, is that it is so like multi-layered and mysterious, and everyone is so different, that like, when you're not in it, it's fascinating, but when you're in it, it's like, get me out of this.
Yeah. Yeah, so randomly, yesterday I was sitting with a friend and there was a group of us hanging out, and he's a tech guy and is very big on ChatGPT and has it on his phone and uses it as like a therapeutic aid, etc. So anyway, we're sitting around and someone asked a very random question, which was, what do you call the very top of a chicken's head thing that like blobs up, like a little mohawk?
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I just made a joke and I said, man, if only we had something nearby that could tell us the answer to any question we had. And he just took it and ran with it and was like, yeah, I guess we'll never know. And we just sort of sat there in the uncertainty of the not knowing. And then I was like, God, it's so interesting that that's totally flipped from how it has historically always been, which is now it's so easy to know and it's so hard to not know. Whereas, for our whole civilizational upbringing, we didn't know anything. It's like, and you need to know a guy that know a guy that know a lady that like lived on a chicken farm. So this not knowing, I find, is not a skill that I am as honed at as perhaps I could be. Is that,
Mm.
do- does that chicken story make sense, Amy?
Yeah. Oh no. Well,
Okay.
your chicken story makes sense to me, Jeremy Goldberg. Yeah. It's like, well, and I think it's actually like I remember years ago I saw Kendrick Cunoff do this Instagram post about like opting out of Amazon Prime, like being like, it's really good for us to have to wait for things. Like, don't pick the fastest delivery method. Like, what if you picked the slowest? What if it was like, okay, you're gonna have to wait 2 weeks or like, and and I feel like that's the similar. It's like these muscles that used to be really strong in all of us of understanding, like, well, yeah, sometimes you have to wait for something. Sometimes it's flying across the world in an airplane, or sometimes like the restaurant's really busy and your steak doesn't come out right when you want it to come out, like this waiting thing and like you're saying, this not knowing, these muscles are like so flimsy at this point because we have so much access and things are so immediate and if you have a question about anything, you can just receive an answer. Um
And we're so
yeah.
like, I get so frustrated now. So the other day I asked ChatGPT, I was trying to figure something out and I was testing it. And I said, what's the date today? And it said 4:02 p.m. And I said, try again. And it said, I think that you are alluding to the R&B hit single by Aaliyah or whatever called Try Again. And it gave me a photo of her and all this stuff. And I found myself like, "Urgh," like, just tell me I knew the date. I didn't, it was like a thing I was doing. And I was like, I need the date. I know the date. I'm irritated. Duh, I wasted 4 seconds, 4 seconds of my life. And it
Yeah.
spun me for a second.
Yeah.
Duh.
But
Anyway.
I have this theory that I'm just what?
I've just I've been talking about chicken heads and chat GPT and hit singles, and now there's a theory. So I'm on the edge of my seat right now.
No, but I think there's the truth is I think as much as we get frustrated when we don't know, or as much as I'm like, I want to Amazon Prime everything, um, I really believe that there are these deeper parts of us that are craving that like return to not knowing or return to the waiting game, or that like it's refreshing when we encounter something that's like, oh, this there is no immediate answer. Like immediately my brain goes to parenting, which I'm not a parent, but I know you're a new parent, new-ish. Would you say you're a new parent? What level parent are you?
Huh. I mean, how long you got, Amy Young? Uh, as of today, I'm a proud father of an 8-month old.
Oh my
I'm an,
gosh.
I'm an 8-month
You've
parent,
been doing it 8 months.
which sounds like a lot compared to me at 2 months. But then I talk to people and they're like, my kid's 42. And I'm like, wow, you've been doing this 42 years? Talk to me. How?
Yeah, like I think there's these experiences that we go through, whether it is like navigating a chronic health issue or like these things that take us outside the realm of what we know or think we know, or believe like, oh, I can just like snap my fingers and do XYZ. It's like, I mean, anyone who's a parent, especially to like a young child, it's like you get tossed into the seat of surrender very, very rapidly, because it's like, oh, it doesn't matter what I want my kid to be doing. Or in my case, it was like, it doesn't matter what I want my body to be doing. There's this thing happening that's outside my control. And as much as it can anger us, frustrate us, exhaust us, I think there's a part of our human psyche that knows, I need this. Like, I need something that's out of my control. I need to be placed in the surrender seat. I need experiences that are going to challenge me beyond what I think that I'm capable of. Like, that's nutritious for us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the illusion of control, I think, that we cling
Totally.
to, right?
Yes.
Because I'm thinking from the other direction, full surrender. Yesterday I laid in the grass and looked at the clouds and said, wow, I don't remember the last time I did this. And it
Mm,
was full surrender, but there was full uncertainty as well. I didn't know what I was going to do the next 5 minutes. I didn't know how long I was going to lay there, but there was something about just that letting go and trusting that it's all good, that it's all okay, that just, to your point, felt like a sigh or an exhale, like, ah. And I suspect that that is what you're alluding to, attempting to access during your transformative 5 year hellfire initiation of anchoring into some of that. Like, this is
yeah.
okay. I trust that this is working out for me. And
Hmm.
attempting to navigate back to that space with the mobile
Hmm.
lighthouses. Is that
Yeah.
fair?
Yeah, totally fair.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't have had that. Again, it's like hindsight's 2020, right? It's so easy to look back and be like, oh, this is how it went. But like when you're in it, it's so much more complicated and strange. But totally, like, that's that for me is why these days, like, the more when I'm really like paying attention to like what's going on, or like if there's something that's bothering me, if I'm struggling with something, usually it is because it's like, oh, there's just something here I'm not surrendered to. Like, there's just something here that I am saying, and this is, I'm not breaking any ground, folks. This is like, this is like, but
That's crazy.
but right, like, but it's so funny to me that as much as we can know, like, oh, fighting with reality doesn't work, fighting what is doesn't work, like resisting what's happening doesn't work, as much as we can know these things, there are these stubborn parts of us that are just like, no, 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 this is not okay. Like, what is happening, I can't accept that, or I can't surrender to it, or I definitely can't trust it. Like, forget even, like, trust is like this whole other gauntlet. And but the more, and this is just, again, because like I was kind of left with no other options, that I was like, I have to develop this skill and ability to trust beyond reason, because if I don't, then I'm going to only feel helpless and victimized, and I don't have the constitution for that. Like, I'm not someone who can feel constantly helpless and victimized, because it'll kill me.
Yeah. So how does one cultivate a trust beyond reason?
What a what an excellent question.
How did you
How did I
attempt to cultivate more of a trust?
Well, this is where it gets really weird. Are you ready for it to get weird?
Dude, let's go.
I, I don't know, dude. I don't know if you're ready for it to get really weird or not.
Like, just imagine, I was like, you know what? No, I don't think the listener wants to hear
No,
about that, Amy. Let me ask you a prepared
redirect.
question.
No weird
Where'd you get
things.
that dress, Amy?
No stories, no weirdness. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Um,
talk about chickens again.
let's
I think
talk.
that's
Yeah,
what that.
that chicken. Did you ever find out what the thing he was? The little chicken mohawk?
Yeah. You know what it's called? A
What?
comb.
Oh, I think I've heard that.
COMB.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the reality
Good
or
to
the
know.
regular programming. How does one
So,
cultivate, Amy?
um, so okay. Okay.
How
So
did you do
one,
it?
so
Let's
yeah,
go.
so before we get to the weird stuff, one part is, and again, everyone, I want you to brace yourselves, because this is going to be a concept you've never heard of before. Are you ready? Everybody just like get out a pen and paper because you're going to want to write this down. I had to really hone in on a very particular mindset. Mindset. I know. Revolutionary. I know. No. I know. I'm going to do a TED Talk on it. Don't worry. It's going to be coming to the masses. Y'all are going to really love this mindset shit.
Just for those that are writing that down, how do you spell that, Amy?
Mind, MIND, set, SET. Yeah.
Okay.
Mindset.
Thanks.
It's becoming one of those things where it's like the more you say it, the less it sounds like a word. Like it's like mindset. What does that mean? But no, but part of it, like this is the not mysterious, weird part of it, was like thinking very specific thoughts. Like it sounds so basic and kind of boring, but like it was really foundational and fundamental for me to notice anytime I was going down this mental rabbit hole of like, I'm fucked, I'm screwed, this is really bad, I'm never going to get out of this. And then going into the future and being like, what if it's 3 years from now and you're still in pain? What if it's 4 years from now and you're still in pain? What if truly no one can ever help you? What if you're in pain for the rest of your life? What if it gets worse? What if something else happens? And interrupting that and being like, oh, unsubscribe from that that hellacious like mental, yeah, where they give you the check boxes. That cracks me up with the email preferences when they're like, but maybe you still want like holiday messages. I'm like, I'm gonna unsubscribe from all of it. I had to learn how to do that in my brain. Like I had to learn how to be like, I unsubscribe from all narratives that reek of like fear and helplessness and impossibility. Like I was like, I can't feed those mental beasts. And I have to like open up these other possibilities and avenues of thought that literally sounded like, this came on mysteriously and suddenly. Maybe it could leave mysteriously and suddenly. And people go through all kinds of hard things, and I'm no different from anybody else. This might be just a hard thing that I have to go through. And like life has always worked out pretty good for me in the past. This could be another one of those things where stuff works out for me. Like I had to input that language into my mind space so constantly and continuously, and that started shaping this like lens and filter through which I could have the experience I was having, but experience it differently. So from a very, and a lot of that is, like I'm a trained coach, like like this is, what I do with people is like interrupt their painful thought streams and be like, hey, let's redirect the river, shall we? So it's like, so part of that was me practicing what I preach and applying things that I know work, and that helped. Where things got really weird was when I started having these intense metaphysical experiences and spiritual experiences that opened me up to what I now call and I love this language from a spiritual teacher, Sadie Whip, the unseen realms. Like I started having these experiences of hearing things, feeling things, sensing things, seeing things that I couldn't explain, that were not of this dimension, but that were really profound and inarguable. And those messages and insights and that sort of relationship that I developed with these other, like, this like mysterious plane of existence that I didn't understand, that opened me up to a whole different orientation, because I stopped feeling so alone in what I was going through. Like I connected to some things that were so much bigger than like my small personality human self could really understand. And it just created this much larger context for me to be living from, where I was like, oh, yeah, like maybe maybe it's not just like small personality Amy, scared, in pain, helpless, hopeless, trying to figure this out. There are other beings, guides, sources of support, invisible, energetic, what have you, that are making themselves known to me. And I can lean into that invisible support and be guided by that invisible support. Um, and that was something that had actually kind of started maybe like 6 months before the pain appeared. I started having these really weird kind of like psychic, inexplicable, metaphysical, experiences, but I was so freaked out by it that I really shut everything down. And it really took me, again, like surrendering, literally being like, I don't know what to do, like literally on the floor, like crying in child's pose, like being like, I don't know what else to do right now. That something in me opened up to something else. And once my experience, going back to your initial question of like cultivating a trust beyond reason, when all of that was going on, I was like, I'm clearly going crazy. Like, I was like, I'm losing my marbles. Like, that's what must be happening right now. Uh-oh, like, wow, things have really taken a turn. Cause God damn it, another thing, But but I was working with my one of my like oldest, dearest mentors, Heather Allison, who's a really incredible teacher of the primordial feminine, and I was and I was living in Boulder, Colorado, which is like the epicenter of like be a Fruit Loop, you know what I mean? Like you don't like unplug from the matrix, like don't even worry, don't shower, like what are you doing? Just like make kombucha and sun your yoni, like don't even worry about it. So I was really, there was something in me that even though I was like, I'm probably going crazy and this is probably just nonsense and I think I'm making this stuff up. My coach Heather was really like, what if you like chose to just be open to this and trust it and just see what happens, and like you don't have to make any like hard fast decisions. Like if you hear a voice and it starts telling you some really creepy weird stuff, like don't listen to that, but let's just see, um so there was a part of me that then chose to trust that, like chose to be like, okay, I'm having these bizarre, I don't know what to call them besides like metaphysical experiences or like this like sort of psychic awakening, or like, my channel is opening or something's going on. Um, let's just follow that thread and kind of like see where it goes. And I really mean it when I say like when I really kind of got on board with that and was like, I'm going to pay more attention here and I'm going to listen on a deeper level and I'm going to stay open to this idea that there are invisible sources of support and that's all there for me. um that made my whole life so much easier in a way that I really desperately needed. Like I needed some things to be easier.
Yeah. Just a point of clarification. When you talk about uh, intuitive guidance or other dimensions or beings or whatever, are we talking like a dream that you had or an intuition hit in the shower or a
Mm.
shaman in Peru with ayahuasca or a deep meditation state or just randomly walking down the street and thinking, oh, that tree just nudged me to burn my business down? Like, what is the...
That's such a great question. And it's sort of, I mean, on one level, it's like hard to answer, on the other, and on another level, it's not. So the first, the first experience I had when I really shut everything down was like I was walking down the street and I started having these like visions about people. And I remember I was going to the gym and I walked into the gym and I started seeing and just knowing things about people that I was walking by. And there was this I went up to this person and like reality tested this and was like, excuse me, I don't know, like, this is probably really weird of me to ask this, but did you have this experience when you were in college? Blah, 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 blah. And I saw this guy's face just like fall. And then I was like, thank you, goodbye. And I
Have a good
deuces.
workout.
And And I remember going into the locker room and I was like, I'm not okay. Like, again, I was like, I'm going crazy. Like, something really bad is happening. And this woman in the locker room was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. It's totally cool. But something I just like etch a sketched my brain and was like, we're not doing this. Like, whatever this is, we're not doing it. I'm not available for this. Like, shut it down. And and I was able to kind of snap out of it. The experiences that I had later, like probably about almost a year later, were more like I had a pretty consistent morning practice, and um and it was really just it was what I called just like I would put myself in this like spacious stillness of just like, okay, I'm just gonna be quiet, and I'm just gonna be, and I'm just gonna like see what's here. And I started at first it was like I started hearing things. Like um I would start to hear other like voices that like wasn't my voice, you know, or like wasn't just my mind talking. And then I would feel things. Like I would get like I it's so weird talking about this stuff because it's like the experience of it, I don't know. I feel like it's like talking about it's like when someone like is talking to you and they're trying to tell you about like their big mushroom trip and you're like, this is the most boring. Like this means nothing to me and it means everything to you. That's what I feel like when I share about this stuff.
Well, just to counter that, uh, I feel like, having had a lot of conversations with people, I'm sure you would agree the same, that when someone is sharing something meaningful, then I find it meaningful
Hmm.
as
Oh,
just like a hack.
you're
Like,
such
and
a
you want to,
pure spirit. I just like love I just love you. I just think you're just the
well,
best.
like, for example, when I was telling you about that chicken with the little chicken feathers on the top of his head, like, you were paying attention and like you were
Yeah.
sucked in. You're like, you don't give a shit about chicken heads. Like, I get it. But you could tell and you could feel that for me, it was meaningful in that moment, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, like I've had my own fair share of hallucinogenic experiences, and those stories are rarely boring and non-meaningful.
Usually pretty
So
interesting. Interesting enough.
yeah, like
Yeah.
so maybe 10, 20 minutes ago, I was thinking of asking you when you first alluded to this stuff, have you ever had an out-of-body experience? Because that's where
Mm.
I thought you were potentially going, but then you
Mm.
went to the, alternative realities and being psychic. So that was cool.
Yeah. Um, yeah, well, thank you for saying all of that. I mean, I think the story that I was like hedging going into, but I've shared about it before, but it's like the most profound experience, the point where I was really like, oh, like I really, whatever this is that I am potentially being granted access to or getting kind of like opened into, like, I want more of whatever this is, was this experience that I had really connecting with what I now know to be and connect with as the great mother, like cosmic, primordial, divine feminine, like nurturer, which we can look at like on an archetypal level or just on an energetic level. But I had this experience of really being like totally lost, afraid, alone, in pain, and kind of hearing this voice and feeling very suddenly like these like waves of love and being like witnessed and seen and held like pouring over me and through me. And I had this like it was sort of like this slideshow in my mind went so rapidly of seeing through my whole life how much what I had been doing and what I'd done was to try and earn love. And feeling in that moment how it was always right there. Like how the whole thing of like, you are love, like we are all love. Like it's like we all hear that and it's like, okay, whoop de doo. But I was actually having this felt experience of like, oh, this is here and it's real. And this is like a feeling and a resource and something I can like it's I can tap into it like it's happening right now. Like it brought me to my knees. And and I just felt how much it was like, oh, this whole thing of trying to like earn love or prove myself or work hard. I was like, that's all of that was so like silly, you know, like it was so silly and so unnecessary. And I didn't need to do that. And um and that was that experience and kind of getting to connect with that, you know, what I now call, and I work with this, you know, with my clients, is it's like this, it's this experience of unconditional loving safety. Like it's like this energetic, like frequency field hug that like I'm very blessed to be able to kind of like, you know, tap into, and I've cultivated a relationship with this energy, and it's like very much like a steady presence in my life. And it alleviated so much suffering for me because again, I couldn't see, I didn't see at the time how much all my efforts towards achievement or, you know, towards wanting to get into a relationship or yeah, like wanting to have this person's approval or something, like how much of that at the core of it, like if we really got down to the root, it was like I just want to be loved. And and if I achieve enough, then I'll be lovable, or if this person approves of me, then I'll know that I'm lovable. And it just like cut through that completely.
It's like a grand epiphany.
Yeah.
I almost picture the like the universe or the divine mother or whatever observing us
Yeah.
live our little lives, knowing all that you just elucidated, that the universe is love and everybody's loved and belonging is just inherent and
Yeah.
consciousness is fundamental and blah blah blah. And then watching us choose which shirt to wear in the mirror and like to fix our makeup and just being like,
You
what are you
silly
doing?
beans. You silly beans. Yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe
Yeah.
even just watching you in that moment of complete devastation, having the aha and just be like, ah,
Yeah.
like would have with a client of that, ah, she got it. Like this is the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing all that so openly as well.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And you're welcome. You're welcome, everybody.
Um, okay, so
Oh, wait, can I just say,
now
wait. I want you to just hold on to what you're going to say. But I just want to say it's really important to me. Like, I was someone that didn't, didn't, because I lived most of my life not being like intuitively so open or connected. I think I carried around, I would go to like energy workers or I'd go to intuitive healers or I'd go to all these different people and be like, oh, these special people like have access to this stuff or they have these skills that I don't have. And like, now being on the other side of that, where like this is very much part of like the fabric of how I live and also now like how I coach and how I work with people and stuff. Like, I really do. I believe like everybody has access to everything. Like this is not some special, like I was like anointed through my suffering. Like like the cosmic mother came and took mercy on me and like gave me this. Like I really believe we all totally have access and that we can open up to our intuitive sensibilities or gifts in different ways. And like I love exploring that with people, because even people who are like, no, but I'm not, like, no, but I can't, it's like, you'd be surprised. So that's, I just want to put like a little asterisk and be like, I'm not special. I mean, I'm special in the way that we're
well,
all special,
I'll,
but
I'll put that in the show notes. Amy is not special.
Amy's
Amy
not
wanted me to tell you.
not special.
But
Yeah.
I mean I think like I've said for a long time that selfishness needs a better PR campaign or a marketing team, because selfishness has this negative connotation when self-love is selfish and self-care is selfish. And it like, there's other ways to look at it. But I often, you know, I hear you saying that about the spiritual community or the meditation community. And it seems like there's a lot of branding or folks that are operating in a very ungrounded, airy fairy, like I just eat light and shoot pixie dust out my pooper, right? And it like feels disconnected, whereas the way that you're describing it now feels more grounded and
Hmm.
I don't want to say reasonable, but like
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that makes me happy to
Related.
hear, because I get nervous talking about it. I think for like, just for the obvious reasons, is because again, because think about the story I was telling about that woman in Ojai who's like, I am the one who hears the bird, and I'm like, this chick, and like, so I think about someone listening to me being like, yeah, and then the divine mother spoke to me, and I'm like, this chick, but that's me, like, that's very much how I'm pretty skeptical and discerning, and have a pretty high like bullshitometer for stuff. So I appreciate that reflection very much.
I think, yeah, no worries. And I think, with a lot of this stuff, it's ineffable, it's unnameable, it's
Totally.
indescribable, it's
Totally.
essential, and we're putting names on it like Divine Mother, God, or the
Mm-hmm.
universe, intuition, when in reality, or whatever we think reality even is, it's much bigger, more
Totally.
complex, more intangible,
Yeah.
and we're all just trying to describe it from different viewpoints and lenses. And so for you, Divine Mother maybe clicks. For
Yes.
another person, it might be, the master potato or whatever.
Well, Master Potato is very different in my experience. Master Potato is, I mean, when I encountered Master Potato, it was really like a whole different kind of thing. But I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Are there I love that you just took that baton and ran with it for a second.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, is there a thing called a master
Hold on. Is there
potato?
a Master Potato?
Have I heard this?
Yeah.
Is there places or edges or spaces that you're kind of leaning into now that's kind of the next uh, glass ceiling or, area of discomfort that's, now that you're homies with the Divine Mother, is she gonna, invite you for tea and show you the secret back room where like the real stuff is? Do you know what I mean?
I want to see that good shit.
Yeah,
Um, that's such a good question. I mean, I will say there's things that it's like my metaphorically speaking, it's like my eyes are always being opened to new things. Like I'm always kind of receiving things, or um it just in like my practice, or like, but I don't, it's hard for me to say like, oh, what, yeah, like what is sort of like the leading edge of what I'm like working on or with
right, right,
right
right.
now. Like I don't know that I have anything
Is there anything that you're
specific.
curious about or reading about or learning about, or are you more just an open vessel waiting for the universe to next whisper you
No, I
sweet
mean,
nothings?
I'm always like learning, listening, paying attention to stuff.
Like as an example, I'm right
Gimme.
now listening to this podcast series by I think her name's Annika Harris about consciousness, and it's called
Mm.
Lights On, and it's like a mini book documentary series all about consciousness, and it gets into time and free will and meditation and evolution, and it's very dense. And I must admit, I don't follow it in parts completely, but it's asking very big questions such as, is time fundamental? Like, is space, uh, what did they say this morning? It was like, does space even exist? Like, not just outer space, but just like physical space? Or is it just this artifact of a hologram that our brain created, which is always actually living in the past because it takes time to process the reality to get through the neurons up to the brain and what you see. And anyway, so I'm sort of interested in like consciousness and
Mhm.
what's happening. And when you talked earlier about sitting in the nothingness and just being and hearing voices and things, that's where I'm kind of like, oh, yeah, what is that?
Yeah,
Right? Like,
totally.
who are we? And they
Yeah,
talk about, I'm just ranting now because I'm a fan of this podcast series, but they talk
sounds
about this
great.
idea that in a woman, there just grows a person
Hmm.
and it's just a bunch of matter. And then at some point, the consciousness just switches on and the lights turn on. And it's like, what's that about?
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Well, and
Anyway, I
isn't it?
digress.
No, 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 you're not digressing at all. Like this is so my favorite thing, but it's like I think the thing that blows my mind is how much we just accept all of that. You know what I mean? Like we're just like, oh yeah, like that's, well, and that's just what happens. And it's like, no, no, hold on, like let's really like sit in this for a second. Like, yeah, when do the lights go on, so to speak? And like, and who is flipping the light switch, and or it's the light switch just flipping itself, and why, like why are the lights going on, like
What's
all
light? I'm like, what are we doing here? People are like, oh, that's so weird. I called my friend and she was thinking about me. And it's like, we're on a sphere around a fireball in vast infinite nothingness. Like, we have hearts and brains, and
yeah,
like I could
no,
see
everything's
color
weird,
and it's all
everything's weird,
you see how
everything's
you're
weird.
like, I saw this guy at the gym and I knew his past. I was like, oh yeah, totally. I get that.
Well, and I think that's the thing about having those types of experiences, is like it kind of like it broke these parts of my brain that was like, oh no, like this is what you can expect, and this is the nature of reality, and this is what's real and what's not real. And then I started having these like bizarre experiences that I couldn't explain, that like didn't make sense to me, but that felt very real and profound. And I was like, wow, like what else don't I know? Like what else am I thinking, oh, this is how it is, and really it's some other way.
You know
And
what I think? Sorry to interrupt you there,
no,
but
no, no,
I
go
think
ahead.
there's a parallel to that in my experience of fatherhood, which is I call her this little adorable tyrant, which is my daughter, who just, runs the show now because that's how it is. And what I'm realizing is that she is clarifying to me places or things or beliefs or identities that I'm clinging to that I don't even realize my fingers are grasping.
Mm,
And it sounds like that's what you've had happen to you as well through a series of different experiences. It's like, oh, look at it, gives me goosebumps.
yeah,
I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that I was clinging to that, or I didn't even think that I had that belief, but it's
yeah,
being exposed in a very raw, uncomfortable manner right now. And I find myself continuing to try to just drag my fingernails to that thing.
totally.
And at some point, it's like, you know what? I guess I'm just going to get pooped on. You know what? That's fine.
Can you
You
give
know?
an example? Is
Oh, I give a lot of examples. And I'm sure like any so like So we're just, I like to pride myself on being like a punctual person. And if I say, hey, we're going to meet for lunch at noon, like I'm going to be there for noon. If I say, hey, I have a book deadline on January 12th, like you're going to get my draft. Like that's important to me. It's just
yeah,
an integrity thing. That's just how I've always been.
yeah,
And so me and my partner, we get ready and we get dressed and we're going somewhere and we have the baby, we have the diaper bag and we're putting our shoes on. And all of a sudden the baby just poops her pants. And you're uh, uh, like right, like, literally standing in the doorway about to leave. And I was like, ah, okay, well, I'm not gonna just drive around with a diaper full of poop so that we can get to brunch on time. I'm gonna take my shoes off. I'm gonna take the diaper bag off. It's winter. I live in Vancouver. I'm gonna take my jacket off. I'm gonna take my gloves off. I'm gonna walk over. I'm gonna change you. I'm gonna be late. Um, And so recognizing that a lot of that process that I just described about the clinging and the control and the illusion of safety is me just desiring to maintain things how they've always been and to
hmm,
resist opening up to who I might become and what I might be in this new reality.
yeah, it's wild.
It's
It's
so
like
fun.
it's so wild. Well, and it's so and uh,
It's like your point at the beginning is like, no, doc, just tell me what's wrong and give me the pill. Like, I
yeah.
don't want to deal with all this
Yeah,
process.
I don't care. Yeah, like I don't care to be challenged by this thing. Like I just don't. But there does seem to be, again, like the whether it's life, whether it's the nature of reality, whether it's part of like our human drive, we do seem to consistently have experiences, whether it is through parenthood or something happening in your body that you can't control, or something in your, or like suddenly you're laid off, and it's like, what, like this is like there's these events and circumstances that arise that totally shatter these illusions of control and certainty and stability and life as we know it. And and there's this really incredible invitation in those moments to go like, okay, what am I going to choose, what am I going to do, like you said, am I going to be like white knuckle gripping, like, but we have to get to brunch at this time, like, no, this is how things have to be, or for me it's like, no, I should be in a pain-free body, like my body shouldn't be doing this, or am I just going to fucking flow with it and be like, okay, I guess this is what's happening now. Like,
Mm.
and be changed by that, you know, like be altered and adjusted by that. Like it's all of this stuff that I think most of us are really trying a lot of, in a lot of ways, we're trying to avoid. Like, it's like, because yeah, like certainty and control, cool. Like, I'll take that. My illusions of certainty and control, cool. Yeah, even if it's just an illusion, makes me feel better. But there's something going on, and I don't know what it is, that's saying you will not have that. Like that, no, like that's not serving you. That's not, you don't need that anymore. It's time to grow beyond that. And that is really where, like, when I say I work with women through awakening and initiation, that's what I'm talking about. It's like the thing that you were used to that felt certain, or like, this is who I am, or this is how I can expect life to unfold. When shit goes sideways, sometimes literally, right? Like when
Can
there's
confirm.
confirm, there is an invitation in that space. And from my own lived experience, and you can tell me if this has been true for you, when I'm able to flow with things, when I loosen my grip, when I go, okay, I guess I thought life was going to be that way and now it's going to be this other way. Like, I've never been disappointed when I've been able to like stay open and trust and flow, and even if there's parts of me that are resistant, I'm like, okay, I hear you, resistance, but like, you're not driving anymore. uh Life has unfolded in really cool ways for me, in ways that I never could have expected. And that's one of the reasons why it's like, when I'm looking back on these different experiences that I've had, or like, yeah, these different, you know, like, whether we want to call them like rites of passage, or just like, the bottom falling out, or having to kind of like figure things out in real time unexpectedly, like, oh, okay, I guess we're redirecting again. um I've really come to, and maybe actually, Jeremy, maybe this is the answer to your question about cultivating unreasonable, like, what was it? Unreasonable trust beyond reason.
Yeah.
It's because my life was like, I had this 5-year experiment of like, let's see what happens if we just trust fall into this like weird, painful unknown that's presented itself. And we just keep trust falling, and we just keep trust falling, and let's see what happens. And only good things happened for me from that place. So like, I got this really hearty dose of like, oh, I can trust life even when I'm in unimaginable pain. I can trust life even when this relationship that I thought I was building a life with this person is falling apart. I can trust life even when I'm burning my business to the ground and I'm being, having to pivot in this totally different direction. Like, because I've walked through it and witnessed what happens, I have this now like proven level of trust. But there was a point where I had to just choose it, because I didn't know what the fuck else to do. Like, I was like, I either trust and surrender and go with the flow, or I'm going to be in like more pain, trying to cling to my old life or my old self or how I wanted things to be.
Yeah. It's often an artifact of a visit to rock bottom, I find,
Totally.
of that. Well, look, I've tried everything I can think of.
Yep.
I've been doing it a certain way my whole life or for the last few years. It's not working. I give up. And then that's the opening
Mm-hmm.
of, oh, maybe I'll try this or maybe I'll try that. Like, I have nothing to lose. I've been scraping my face on rock bottom for years. Like, let's go. Give me the
Totally.
drink. Let's go to the retreat. I'll hire the coach. I'll buy the book. I'll get the divorce. It's like, why not?
Yeah.
So I love this idea. I mean, the science dork in me is biased, but this idea of just experimenting of, hey, I hear this voice. I hear this little, I call it a heart whisper.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this little like, psst, hey, like, book the flight, or psst, hey, like,
Yeah, yeah,
write
yeah.
write that girl back, or psst, whatever. It's like, I'm just gonna try that for a month or 6 months and just experiment and see where it goes. And to your point, it often leads to, at minimum, a very engaging and entertaining life experience, because you're cultivating aliveness in a unique way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're getting to be more fully engaged, you know? Like the more engaged we are with life, the more we grow, the more we learn, the more we discover, the more we, like make mistakes
Yeah.
and all that's the good stuff,
Yeah.
like actually being fully engaged and willing to experiment and test drive things.
Amen. Well, I know you got life to live, and we've been talking for 67 minutes. But I feel like I could talk to you for like 3 hours and be
I
like, hey,
know, me too.
it's always a treat to see you. I hopefully get to talk to you sooner than it's been literally a couple years now.
Long, long time.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of other topics that we didn't even get to, um, which is great
Yeah.
for next time.
Yeah. Let's do it next
I
time.
mean, look, next time you might literally just appear as a ball of light
Oh
or
man, I
with
hope not.
a scent of incense wafting through my microphone
Oh,
somehow. And I was like,
God.
how'd you do that? And you're like, she let me in the back room, dude. There's all kinds of cool
You have
stuff in
no
here.
idea, man. I know. Well, that's the funny thing, right? Is like I think about, I mean, it's the whole thing of like, oh my God, I didn't think that this is where I would be. So like 5 years from me now, like looking back and being like, what is she gonna know that I don't know? Like it's just like, when does it end? I mean, doesn't. I don't think it
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
I joke that I became a man that I used to make fun of. I'm
Oh,
like,
yes.
oh, you
Yes.
don't drink? Too good for us? Nice nose ring, dork. Oh, you don't eat meat anymore? Get a grip, bro.
Ugh.
It's like, oh, but I'm really happy. Happy? Loser.
1,000%. I did a call in my community called that was all about like judging the woman you're becoming. Like
Mm.
like realizing like, oh, I'm like, yeah, like I'm there's this heart whisper, there's these I call them soul nudges. Like you're being like
Oh,
guided in a given direction and it's like, but I hate people who are like
yeah.
that, or it's like those people, yeah, like people who don't drink the squares. Like it's
Yeah.
so
I hate rich people. Teach me how to make money, Amy. You're like,
exact.
let's explore that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, but for real, being more professional for a moment.
Okay, let's be serious.
Amy Young, for those listening right now that want to get more of you, I know you have a website and an Instagram account.
Yeah.
Where should we direct people?
I mean, Instagram's probably the best because then
You have a
people,
new
if you,
look and some good, snazzy, colorful photos I
oh,
saw.
dude, you have no idea. All of you listening, I don't know when this is going live, but listen, you guys, my website, if you go to my website and it looks like a hot piece of trash, just know that I know. Okay. I know my website's really bad right now. I'm in the midst of a big rebrand redesign. It's been years in the making, obviously. And if you go to my website and it looks beautiful, it's because the transformation is complete. But either either go to amyyoungcoaching.com and like I hope that you don't throw up because it's so unappealing right now, or go and marvel in the beauty of what my web designer and I have been working on for months. Or yeah, like if you listened to this, if anything that I shared with you or our conversation today resonated, definitely find me on Instagram at Amy Young Co. and send me a message and let me know that you're from the podcast because I really do love connecting with people and I would love to hear, what hit for you. And and yeah, that's probably the best way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. For those listening, I'll put a link in the show notes. You just have to go down there and click it, and you'll go to that uh, hot mess website or miraculous, unique website,
We don't know.
which, which I mean, this is a good example of how honesty is actually the best marketing. Because if you were just said your website, people would be like, whatever. But now it's a choose your own adventure story, and they're like, is it going to be trash or is it going to be beautiful?
Yeah.
What is it? I got to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, look, I just adore you and so appreciate
Same,
you
same.
and respect the journey you're on and the way that you tell the story of all you've been through.
Thank you.
So thanks for being here and thanks for being yourself in a world that continues to try to force us otherwise.
I so
And
appreciate it.
Yeah, keep in touch. If I can support or assist, or if you ever do get in that secret room behind the Divine Mother Shack, like shoot me a text
I will. I'll let you
and I'm
know.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. That was Amy Young. That was us talking about navigating transitions and unpredictable moments in life, recognizing that you are not who you used to be. And not only is that okay, that is practical and an indicator that you are doing things right. We are meant to evolve and expand and grow and change. And hopefully, this conversation with Amy gave you a little bit of insight and practical, pragmatic approaches that you can implement in your own life. As mentioned, she has an amazing website that might look like crap at the moment, but check back. I'll include a link to that in the show notes, as well as her Instagram account, which has been fully renovated recently. And you can follow that to learn more about her work and to read what she's up to and just get in her world. I really adore Amy Young, as I'm sure came across in our conversation. She's a real one. She's been in the trenches for a long time in this personal development space, and I just have so much fun talking to her. So check her out, follow her on Instagram, and if you have no idea who I am, find me there too. You can find me at Long Distance Love Bombs. I've got a book. I take people on retreats. I do corporate keynote addresses. I do some poetry stuff. I rant and rave online at Long Distance Love Bombs. Check me out. And if you have questions, if you have any comments, any concerns or suggestions, please reach out. Let me know. I would love to hear from you. And I thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the show. Please do like it and share it. Well, don't like it. Share it. Give it a 5-star review. Send it to a friend that might benefit from this because we are all attempting to do our very best. And you can help to make sure that the world is a little bit kinder and a little bit more compassionate. And don't forget yourself too when you look in the mirror. Love yourself, you know? You're doing your best. You're figuring it out. And I'm proud of you. With that said, I will talk to you soon. Thanks for being here.